This powerful quote captures the core of today's exploration, the profound strength found in silence and how it can transform our lives. Have you ever noticed how silence can provide answers that words cannot? In a world filled with constant noise and endless distractions, the ability to embrace silence is more valuable than ever. It is in these quiet moments that we can hear our true selves, reflect deeply, and make decisions from a place of wisdom and tranquility. Picture approaching every challenge in life with a calm mind and an unshaken heart, allowing everything to unfold naturally without force or struggle. In today's video, we'll explore the Stoic practice of silence as a powerful tool for personal growth. We'll discuss practical ways to incorporate moments of quiet into your daily routine, enabling you to reconnect with your core values, reduce anxiety, and cultivate a more serene and balanced approach to life. Have you ever taken a step back, embraced silence, and let things come to you naturally? How has this practice impacted your journey, or how do you plan to incorporate it moving forward? We want to hear from you. Share your experiences in the comments below, and let's learn from each other on this path to greater self-understanding and inner peace. Don't forget to like this video if you found it valuable, share it with others who might benefit, and subscribe to join our growing community at Stoic in Your Life. Together, let's continue to explore the timeless wisdom of Stoicism and find ways to live more fulfilling, balanced, and meaningful lives. 1. Embracing the power of silence in a noisy world. Silence is a source of great strength. These words, attributed to Lao Tzu, resonate deeply with the core teachings of Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us to cultivate inner peace and strength amidst life's chaos. In today's content, we are diving into the transformative power of silence, a concept that may seem counterintuitive in a world that never stops talking, moving, or demanding our attention. Yet, the ancient Stoics, particularly Marcus Aurelius, believed that silence is not merely the absence of noise but a profound state of being that allows us to reconnect with our true selves and the natural flow of life. This idea remains as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. In our fast-paced, hyper-connected modern lives, we are constantly bombarded by information, social media, and the never-ending demands of our careers and personal responsibilities. We often find ourselves caught in a relentless pursuit of success, happiness, and fulfillment, chasing these goals with a frantic energy that leaves us feeling exhausted and unfulfilled. The noise around us often drowns out the whispers of our inner wisdom, making it challenging to hear what truly matters. This is where the power of silence comes in, a practice that can guide us toward a more grounded, peaceful, and authentic way of living. Silence, as understood by the Stoics, is not just about the absence of sound, but about creating space within ourselves to listen, reflect, and grow. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, often retreated into silence to contemplate the nature of life, death, and the universe. He wrote in his Meditations, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This powerful statement reminds us that silence is a sanctuary we carry within ourselves, a place where we can find clarity and insight away from the chaos of the external world. By embracing silence, we allow ourselves to slow down and breathe, to pause and reflect, and to reconnect with our inner selves. In this space of quiet contemplation, we can strip away the superficial layers of our ego, letting go of our need for constant validation, approval, or achievement, and instead focus on what truly matters: our values, our purpose, and our relationships. In practical terms, embracing silence means carving out time in our daily lives to step away from the noise and distractions that surround us. This could be as simple as taking a few minutes each morning to sit quietly with our thoughts, going for a walk in nature without our phones, or setting aside time for meditation or deep reflection. By doing so, we create a mental and emotional buffer, a space where we can process our thoughts and emotions more calmly and clearly. This practice is particularly powerful in helping us deal with the inevitable challenges and setbacks that life throws our way. When we face difficulties, our instinct is often to react immediately, to fix things, or to find solutions. But as the Stoic philosopher Epictetus advised, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. In moments of silence, we learn to listen more deeply to ourselves, to others, and to the situation at hand. We cultivate patience, resilience, and the ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Moreover, the power of silence extends beyond our personal growth. It also enhances our relationships with others. In a world where people are often quick to speak and slow to listen, practicing silence can be a powerful tool for building deeper, more meaningful connections. By truly listening to others without interrupting, judging, or thinking about what we will say next, we show respect and empathy, fostering trust and understanding. This is particularly important in our professional lives, where effective communication is often key to success. When we take the time to listen and reflect before speaking, we can express ourselves more clearly and confidently, making a more significant impact in our interactions and decisions. Furthermore, silence allows us to become more attuned to the present moment, a core aspect of Stoic practice. In our busy lives, we are often preoccupied with the past or the future, worrying about things that have already happened or might happen. But as Seneca, another great Stoic thinker, wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." Silence helps us to ground ourselves in the here and now, to appreciate the beauty and richness of each moment, and to cultivate a sense of gratitude and contentment. It teaches us that we do not need to chase after life. Instead, we can let life come to us naturally, with a calm mind and an open heart. Incorporating the power of silence into our daily routine is not about retreating from the world or avoiding our responsibilities. On the contrary, it is about engaging with life more fully and authentically. It is about finding the courage to face ourselves, to embrace our imperfections, and to grow from them. It is about learning to be comfortable with stillness and solitude, to find peace in our own company, and to build inner strength and resilience that can carry us through life's storms. So, as we navigate our way through the noise and busyness of modern life, let us remember the wisdom of the Stoics and the power of silence. Let us take time to pause, to listen, and to reflect, allowing everything to come to us naturally without force or struggle. In doing so, we can cultivate a more balanced, peaceful, and fulfilling life, grounded in the timeless principles of Stoic philosophy. And as you go about your day, I encourage you to find a moment of silence, however brief, to connect with your inner self, to find your quiet place of strength, and to let the power of silence guide you toward greater clarity, peace, and purpose. Remember, the journey to self-discovery and personal growth begins with a single, quiet step inward. 2. The art of letting go and allowing life to unfold. In a world that is constantly buzzing with noise, where everyone is rushing to get ahead, pushing their agendas, and fighting for the spotlight, there is an often overlooked virtue that has the power to transform our lives: the power of silence. In the midst of chaos and relentless striving, we often forget that sometimes the most profound wisdom comes not from action, but from inaction. It is in the stillness that we find clarity, and it is in the quiet moments that life reveals its true nature. This is where the art of letting go and allowing life to unfold naturally comes into play, a core principle in Stoicism that teaches us to embrace the present, release control, and trust the flow of life. By doing so, we find peace, wisdom, and ultimately, our true path. But how do we actually do this in a world that constantly demands our attention, urges us to react, and pushes us to always do more? Think about a river for a moment. It flows effortlessly, winding around rocks, moving with a grace that is natural and unforced. It doesn't struggle against its path. Instead, it adapts and flows around obstacles, finding the easiest route. This is much like the Stoic approach to life, allowing things to come to you naturally, without forcing or resisting. When we allow life to unfold, when we surrender our need to control every outcome, We open ourselves to possibilities we may have never considered. We often believe that by pushing harder, by forcing things to happen, we can achieve what we want. But have you ever noticed that sometimes the harder you push, the more things seem to push back? This resistance is not just in the world around us, but also within ourselves. It creates tension, anxiety, and frustration, leading us away from the peace and fulfillment we seek. There's a story about a young entrepreneur named Sarah. She was brilliant, driven, and had a vision of what her business could be. She worked tirelessly, pushing herself beyond her limits, believing that only through relentless effort could she achieve success. Yet, no matter how hard she tried, she felt she was swimming upstream, against the current. She was constantly stressed, and her business wasn't thriving the way she hoped. One day, after a particularly exhausting week, she decided to take a step back. She stopped pushing so hard and decided to let things flow naturally. She gave herself the space to listen, to be silent, and to observe. And it was in this space that she began to see things more clearly. Opportunities she had overlooked in her frantic state became apparent, and new paths opened up. By letting go of her need to control every detail, she allowed the natural flow of life to guide her. Her business began to thrive, not because she was pushing harder, but because she had learned the art of letting go. This story of Sarah mirrors a journey many of us face in our own lives. We strive, we push, and we often force things to happen on our terms, forgetting that life has its own rhythm and timing. The Stoics teach us that there is a wisdom in stepping back, in letting go, and in allowing things to unfold as they are meant to. This doesn't mean we become passive or indifferent. On the contrary, it means we become more attuned to the natural order of things, more aligned with our true nature, and more open to the wisdom that silence can bring. Have you ever found that in your most silent moments answers come to you? When you stop chasing and start listening, what do you hear? Silence is not about doing nothing. It is about doing less so that you can perceive more. It's about creating a space where life can speak to you, where you can hear the whisper of your own intuition and the subtle signs that guide you. The art of letting go is about trusting that life has a way of working things out, often in ways we couldn't have planned or anticipated. It's about understanding that our role is not to control everything, but to be a participant in the dance of life, to know when to act and when to be still. The Stoics believed that by cultivating inner peace and a sense of detachment from outcomes, we become better equipped to handle whatever life throws our way. They understood that the real power lies not in fighting against the current, but in learning to flow with it. Let's take a moment to reflect on our own lives. How often do we find ourselves caught up in the struggle, trying to force outcomes and control situations? How often do we find ourselves exhausted by the constant push and pull? What if we chose instead to let go, to be silent, and to trust the process? What might change if we allowed life to come to us naturally, without resistance? We might discover that many of our problems resolve themselves without our interference. We might find that the things we desire come to us when we stop chasing them so desperately. This principle of letting go can apply to many areas of our lives. Consider relationships. How often do we try to control or change others to fit our expectations? Yet, the most harmonious relationships are those where both parties are allowed to be themselves, where there is freedom to grow naturally without being forced. Or think about our careers. Sometimes we might be so focused on reaching a specific goal that we become blind to the new opportunities that arise. We become rigid, not realizing that flexibility could lead us to a path even more fulfilling than the one we originally envisioned. By letting go and allowing life to unfold, we create a space for new possibilities to emerge. This doesn't mean we don't have goals or dreams. It means we remain open to how these dreams may come to fruition, trusting that the universe has its own way of guiding us towards what is truly meant for us. The power of silence and the art of letting go is about embracing a different way of being in the world. It's about understanding that sometimes the most profound action is inaction, that sometimes the most powerful force is silence. In these moments, we find our true selves and connect with the deeper rhythms of life. And in doing so, we allow everything to come to us naturally, as it is meant to be. So, the next time you find yourself caught in the frenzy of life, remember the river. Remember Sarah's story. And ask yourself, what would happen if I let go? What would happen if I allowed life to unfold? The lesson here is simple, yet profound. Trust in the flow of life, embrace the power of silence, and let everything come to you naturally. By doing so, you may just find that what you've been searching for has been there all along, waiting for you to see it. 3. Finding inner strength through stillness. In the hustle and bustle of modern life, we often find ourselves caught in an endless loop of noise and distraction, constantly moving from one task to the next, driven by the need to do more, achieve more, and be more. But what if the key to true inner strength doesn't lie in doing more, but in doing less? What if the secret to resilience and clarity comes not from constant activity, but from stillness? The Stoic philosophy, which has guided countless individuals throughout history, teaches us that there is immense power in silence and stillness, a power that can help us cultivate inner strength, wisdom, and a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. But how do we tap into this power in a world that never seems to stop? Let's consider the words of the Stoic philosopher Seneca, who once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." This statement invites us to reflect on how much of our stress and anxiety is self-generated, stemming from our relentless thoughts and worries. By embracing stillness, we can begin to separate ourselves from this mental chatter and see things as they truly are. When we allow ourselves to be still, to embrace silence, we create space for our minds to calm down, for our emotions to settle, and for our true selves to emerge. In this space of stillness, we find our inner strength, the kind of strength that isn't easily shaken by external circumstances or the opinions of others. Have you ever noticed how much clearer your thoughts become after a few moments of silence? How your perspective shifts when you take a step back and simply breathe? This is the power of stillness at work. Marcus Aurelius, another great Stoic thinker, wrote in his Meditations, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This wisdom reminds us that no matter what chaos surrounds us, there is always a sanctuary we can retreat to, a place within ourselves where peace and strength reside. But how often do we allow ourselves to access this inner sanctuary? How often do we give ourselves the permission to be still, to pause and reflect? In a world that glorifies busyness, stillness is often seen as unproductive, even lazy. Yet, it is in these moments of quiet reflection that we can hear the whispers of our own intuition, that inner voice that guides us and helps us make decisions that are aligned with our true values and desires. Consider a story of a man named David, a successful executive always on the go, always looking for the next big opportunity. For years, he believed that his worth was tied to his productivity, to how much he could accomplish in a day. He was constantly stressed, always chasing the next goal, the next achievement. But despite his success, he felt empty, disconnected from himself and his loved ones. One day, feeling utterly exhausted and at a breaking point, he decided to take a different approach. Instead of pushing himself harder, he decided to slow down. He began to incorporate moments of stillness into his daily routine, taking a few minutes each morning to sit in silence, to breathe, and to just be. At first it was uncomfortable. His mind raced with thoughts and he felt restless. But over time, something remarkable happened. He began to feel a sense of peace he had never experienced before. His thoughts became clearer, his decisions more thoughtful, and his relationships deeper and more meaningful. By embracing stillness, David discovered a reservoir of inner strength he never knew he had. David's story is not unique. It reflects a journey that many of us can embark on if we choose to. The Stoics understood that inner strength doesn't come from external achievements or recognition. It comes from within, from a place of calm and centeredness that can only be accessed through stillness and silence. This inner strength is what allows us to remain steady in the face of adversity, to navigate life's challenges with grace and wisdom, and to stay true to ourselves, no matter what. As Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." How can we react with clarity and wisdom if our minds are always in a state of chaos? How can we find the strength to stay grounded if we never allow ourselves a moment of stillness? In the quiet moments, we learn to listen, not just to the world around us, but to our inner selves. We learn to distinguish between the noise and what truly matters. We learn to let go of what we cannot control and to focus our energy on what we can. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom, finding strength in what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, our reactions, and letting go of the rest. But this level of discernment, this ability to respond rather than react, can only be developed through practice, through cultivating moments of silence and reflection in our daily lives. What if, instead of filling every moment with activity, we allowed ourselves to simply be? What insights might we gain? What strength might we uncover? The Stoics believed that stillness is not a sign of weakness but a source of great power. It is in stillness that we build resilience, that we fortify our minds and hearts against the inevitable storms of life. It is in silence that we learn to hear the truth of our own souls, to reconnect with our deepest values, and to find the courage to live authentically. So how can you begin to incorporate more stillness into your life? How can you create a space for silence in your daily routine? Maybe it's as simple as taking a few minutes each day to breathe deeply, to sit quietly, and to just listen. Maybe it's about turning off the noise, the endless notifications, the constant stream of information, and tuning into your own inner wisdom. Think about the last time you allowed yourself a moment of true stillness. What did you feel? What did you hear? What might happen if you made this a regular practice? Could it change the way you approach your day, your work, your relationships? Could it help you find a sense of peace and clarity that you've been missing? The lessons of Stoicism remind us that we have the power to choose our response to life, that we can find strength in stillness and wisdom in silence. By embracing these moments of quiet reflection, we open ourselves to a deeper understanding of who we are and what we truly want from life. In closing, remember this. Inner strength is not about being unyielding or inflexible. It is about being resilient and adaptable. It is about finding your center and staying grounded, no matter what life throws your way. It is about knowing that no matter how turbulent the external world may be, there is a place of calm and peace within you, a place that you can always return to, a place where your true strength resides. So, I ask you, how will you embrace stillness today? How will you tap into the power of silence to find your inner strength? As you ponder these questions, remember the words of Marcus Aurelius. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And what better way to cultivate quality thoughts than by embracing the stillness within? 4. The wisdom of listening more, speaking less. Have you ever noticed how much wisdom can be found in silence? In a world where everyone is talking, few are truly listening. Yet the greatest leaders, the most successful entrepreneurs, and the wisest philosophers all share a common trait. They listen more than they speak. The Stoic philosophy, which has guided men for centuries, teaches us that there is immense power in the practice of listening and the restraint of speech. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak, said the Greek philosopher Epictetus. This simple yet profound advice carries a weight that is deeply relevant in today's fast-paced, noisy world. As men navigating the complexities of life, work, and relationships, how often do we pause to truly listen? To ourselves, to others, to the world around us? How often do we consider the wisdom we might gain by embracing silence and letting things come to us naturally, rather than constantly forcing our way through? The power of listening more and speaking less is not just a strategy for effective communication. It is a path to deeper understanding, more meaningful connections, and a more peaceful life. When we listen more and speak less, we create space for deeper reflection and greater clarity. The Stoics believed that silence is a powerful tool for self-examination and inner growth. When you choose to listen instead of speaking, you allow yourself to absorb more information, see situations from different perspectives, and understand the underlying emotions and motivations of those around you. This aligns with Marcus Aurelius's wisdom in his Meditations. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. By choosing silence over speech, we confront our own impatience and ego, transforming these obstacles into opportunities for growth. In this way, listening becomes a form of action, a deliberate choice to engage with the world in a more thoughtful, intentional manner. As you navigate the challenges of modern life, consider how often you find yourself speaking just to fill the silence or asserting your opinions, without fully understanding the situation. What if you took a step back and allowed yourself to simply listen? What insights might you gain? What conflicts might you avoid? The wisdom of speaking less is also deeply tied to the concept of controlling what we can and letting go of what we cannot. In every conversation, there are moments where we feel compelled to assert our viewpoints, to defend our positions, or to prove ourselves right. But what does this really achieve? As the Roman philosopher Seneca wisely noted, it is a great thing to know the season for speech and the season for silence. By choosing to speak less, we let go of the need to control every outcome, every impression, every conversation. We acknowledge that not every word we utter needs to be said, not every thought needs to be voiced. Instead, we focus on what is truly within our control, our reactions, our patience, and our ability to listen. This practice is not about suppressing our voice or opinions, but about choosing our words with intention and purpose. When we do speak, our words carry more weight, more thoughtfulness, and more impact. Think about your own life and the people you admire the most. Are they the ones who talk endlessly? Or are they the ones who listen intently, who speak with purpose? In the world of business, the most respected leaders are often those who listen to their teams, who value input, and who take time to understand before making decisions. In personal relationships, the deepest bonds are formed not through constant talking, but through listening, understanding, and shared silence. This is a practice that goes against much of what our culture promotes, where speaking up, being assertive, and taking charge are often seen as the hallmarks of strength and leadership. Yet, there is a quiet strength in knowing when to stay silent, in recognizing that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to listen. How might this approach change the way you interact with your colleagues, your friends, your family? Furthermore, the act of listening more and speaking less can lead to greater emotional intelligence and self-awareness. When we are silent, we have the opportunity to observe not just others but ourselves. We notice our own impulses, our own triggers, and our own habits of speech. We become more aware of the motivations behind our words and the impact they have on others. This self-awareness is a key component of Stoic philosophy and is essential for personal growth. As Epictetus reminds us, first learn the meaning of what you say and then speak. By speaking less and listening more, we become more attuned to our own inner dialogue, to the thoughts and beliefs that drive our behavior. We learn to choose our words more carefully, to speak with intention, and to communicate more effectively. This leads to more meaningful conversations, stronger relationships, and a greater sense of inner peace. In today's world, filled with constant noise and distraction, the ability to listen more and speak less is a skill that is becoming increasingly rare and valuable. It is a skill that can set you apart in both your personal and professional life. It can help you build deeper, more meaningful relationships and make more thoughtful, informed decisions. It can bring you closer to understanding your own mind and emotions and to finding that inner stillness that the Stoics so highly prized. The next time you find yourself in a conversation, ask yourself, am I truly listening, or am I just waiting for my turn to speak? What might happen if I chose to listen a little more and speak a little less? How might this change the way I see the world and the way the world sees me? The practice of listening more and speaking less is not about silence for its own sake. It is about creating space for understanding, for empathy, and for wisdom to emerge. It is about recognizing that in the quiet, we find our true voice. As you go about your day, consider how you might incorporate this practice into your life. How can you create moments of silence amidst the noise? How can you listen more deeply to those around you and to yourself? Remember, as the Stoics teach us, true wisdom is often found in the spaces between our words. So let us embrace the wisdom of listening more and speaking less, and let everything come to us naturally, in its own time and in its own way. What changes could you see in your life if you allowed yourself to fully embrace this philosophy? The answer, like so much else, lies in the silence. Thank you for joining us in today's video. Before we move on to the next segment, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude to you. It's wonderful to have you as a part of our community here at Stoic in Your Life. Your presence is truly valued, and we encourage you to share your story or any personal insights you've gained. If you're not sure what to say, simply leave a comment saying, "I am a newbie," if you're just starting your journey with us, or "I am Stoic," if you've been with us for a while. Your engagement means a lot and serves as a great motivation for us to continue bringing valuable content. All right, let's continue this journey together, exploring the path of Stoicism and the power of silence. Ready to dive deeper? Ready to. 5. The quiet mind, finding peace amidst chaos. In a world filled with constant noise and distraction, where every moment seems to demand our attention and every device clamors for our engagement, finding a quiet mind may seem like an impossible task. Yet, within the philosophy of Stoicism lies a powerful principle that can help us achieve just that: finding peace amidst chaos through the power of silence. The Stoics believed that true peace is not the absence of external noise, but rather the cultivation of an inner silence. A quiet mind that remains calm and centered no matter what storms rage around it. As Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This statement serves as a timeless reminder that the path to inner peace lies not in changing the world around us, but in transforming how we respond to it. But how do we achieve this state of a quiet mind in the midst of the chaos that life inevitably brings? Consider the story of Tom, a modern-day professional who is constantly on the go, juggling the demands of a high-pressure job, family responsibilities, and the never-ending stream of emails, notifications, and to-do lists. Every day felt like a battle to keep up, and the noise both inside and outside his head was deafening. He found himself reacting to every situation with frustration and anxiety, always feeling overwhelmed and exhausted. One day, after a particularly stressful meeting, Tom decided to try something different. Instead of rushing to his next task, he took a few moments to sit quietly at his desk, close his eyes, and take a few deep breaths. In that moment of silence, he felt a shift, a brief but profound sense of calm and clarity. He realized that amidst all the chaos, he had the power to create his own moments of peace. This small practice of finding silence amidst the noise became a daily ritual for Tom, and over time, he noticed a significant change in how he handled stress and adversity. He became more patient, more thoughtful in his responses, and less reactive to the things he could not control. Tom's story illustrates a simple yet powerful truth. Peace is not something that comes from outside. It is something we cultivate within. The Stoics teach us that while we may not be able to control external events, we can always control our inner state. The practice of finding silence, whether through meditation, deep breathing, or simply taking a moment to pause, allows us to connect with this inner state, to ground ourselves in the present moment, and to create a sense of calm amidst the chaos. In doing so, we become less affected by the noise around us and more attuned to our own thoughts and feelings. Have you ever noticed how much more clearly you can think after a few moments of silence? How can problems that seemed overwhelming suddenly appear more manageable? This is the power of a quiet mind at work, a mind that is not easily swayed by external circumstances but remains steady and focused. But achieving a quiet mind is not about shutting out the world or retreating into solitude. It's about engaging with the world in a different way. It's about learning to navigate life's chaos with a sense of calm and clarity, about finding peace not by avoiding challenges, but by facing them with a steady heart and a clear mind. As Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This wisdom invites us to reflect on our own reactions to life's chaos. How often do we let external events dictate our inner state? How often do we react out of anger, fear, or frustration, rather than responding with patience, understanding, and wisdom? What if we could change this by cultivating a quiet mind, by finding peace within ourselves no matter what is happening around us? The practice of maintaining a quiet mind requires discipline and self-awareness. It means being mindful of our thoughts and emotions, recognizing when we are being pulled into the noise of the external world, and choosing to return to a state of inner calm. It means being present in the moment, fully aware of our surroundings, but not allowing them to dictate our state of being. This practice is not about perfection, but about progress, about making small, consistent efforts to cultivate inner peace every day. It's about recognizing that peace is a choice we make, moment by moment, in how we choose to respond to the world around us. Think about a time when you felt truly calm and centered amidst a stressful situation. What was different about that moment? What did you do to create that sense of peace? How might you bring more of that into your daily life? As we go about our daily lives, we are constantly bombarded by distractions, challenges, and demands. But amidst all this, we have the power to choose how we respond. We have the power to find peace in the chaos, to create moments of silence that allow us to reconnect with ourselves and find clarity in our thoughts. The Stoics remind us that we are not at the mercy of the world. We have the ability to cultivate our own inner strength and resilience. As Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." By finding peace within, we free ourselves from the turmoil of external events and become masters of our own minds. So how can you begin to cultivate a quiet mind in your own life? How can you create more moments of silence amidst the noise? Perhaps it's as simple as starting your day with a few minutes of meditation or ending your day with a quiet reflection. Maybe it's about taking a moment during a stressful situation to pause, breathe, and remind yourself that you have the power to choose your response. What changes might you see in your life if you made this a daily practice? Could you find more peace, more clarity, more joy in the everyday moments? The answers to these questions lie within you, in the silence that is always there, waiting to be discovered. The power of silence and the practice of finding a quiet mind is not just about escaping the noise of the world. It's about finding peace within yourself no matter what is happening around you. It's about cultivating a state of being that is calm, centered, and resilient, a state that allows you to navigate life's chaos with grace and wisdom. As you continue on your journey, remember that the true power of silence lies not in the absence of noise, but in the presence of inner peace. So, take a moment today to find that silence within, to create your own sanctuary of calm amidst the storm. And ask yourself, what would my life look like if I chose to embrace the quiet mind? What peace and clarity might I find if I let everything come to me naturally? The answers, as always, are yours to discover. Six, silence as a path to self-mastery. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the noise around you, by the constant chatter, the endless stream of information, and the relentless demands of daily life? In a world that seems to value noise and speed above all else, The concept of silence can seem almost revolutionary. Yet within the wisdom of Stoicism, silence is not just a pause between words. It is a powerful path to self-mastery. The Stoics, known for their profound insights into human behavior and the nature of life, believed that true mastery over oneself begins with the ability to be silent, to listen, and to reflect. Be silent, Epictetus advised, and let your mind speak. This idea might seem counterintuitive in a society that encourages us to speak up, to express ourselves, and to make our voices heard. But what if the true path to understanding yourself and mastering your own mind starts not with speaking, but with silence? What if the answers you seek are not out there, but within you, waiting to be heard in the quiet moments? Consider how much time we spend filling every silence with noise, whether it's the noise of social media, the news, or our own internal dialogues. We often fear silence because it forces us to face ourselves, to confront our thoughts, emotions, and truths that we might be avoiding. But this is precisely why silence is so powerful. It is in these quiet moments that we gain the most profound insights into who we are and what we truly want from life. Silence gives us the space to examine our thoughts without distraction, to question our beliefs, and to understand our motivations. As Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor of Rome, wrote in his Meditations, "Nowhere can a man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. By embracing silence, we create a sanctuary within ourselves, a place of calm and clarity where we can begin the journey of self-mastery." Have you ever taken a moment to sit in complete silence and listen to your thoughts? What did you hear? What might you learn about yourself if you allowed yourself more moments like this? To master oneself through silence is to cultivate a disciplined mind. The Stoics teach that our thoughts shape our reality, and therefore, controlling our thoughts is key to mastering our emotions and actions. When we practice silence, we are not simply refraining from speaking. We are actively engaging in a process of self-reflection and self-regulation. We are learning to observe our thoughts without judgment, to let go of the ones that do not serve us, and to cultivate those that lead us to wisdom and inner peace. Think of silence as a tool for sharpening your mind, much like a whetstone sharpens a blade. When we allow our minds to settle into silence, we create the conditions for clarity and focus to emerge. How often do we find ourselves reacting impulsively to situations because we haven't taken a moment to pause and reflect? How might our lives be different if we learned to respond with thoughtful intention rather than impulsive reaction? Silence also teaches us patience, a critical component of self-mastery. In our fast-paced world, we are conditioned to seek immediate gratification, quick answers, and instant results. But the greatest growth often comes from patience, from allowing things to unfold naturally rather than forcing them to happen. In silence, we learn to wait, to observe, and to understand that not everything requires immediate action or response. This patience allows us to make better decisions, to act with wisdom rather than haste, and to remain composed even in the face of uncertainty or adversity. As Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, wisely noted, "It does not matter how slowly you go as long as you do not stop." In the practice of silence, we learn that progress is not always about speed. Sometimes it is about consistency and perseverance. Have you ever considered how often impatience leads to mistakes or regrets? What if you chose instead to embrace the patience that comes from silence? Moreover, silence fosters humility, a recognition that we do not have all the answers and that there is always more to learn. When we are silent, we open ourselves up to new ideas, perspectives, and insights. We listen more attentively to others and to the world around us. This humility is crucial for self-mastery because it keeps us open-minded and receptive to growth. It reminds us that the journey to understanding ourselves is ongoing, that mastery is not a destination, but a continuous process of learning and evolving. The Stoics believe that wisdom begins with wonder, and in silence, we find the space to wonder. to question, to explore, and to seek deeper understanding. How might your life change if you approached it with a spirit of curiosity and humility, always open to learning and growing? Let's also reflect on how silence can improve our relationships with others. By mastering the art of silence, we become better listeners, more empathetic, and more understanding. We create space for others to express themselves fully without the need for immediate response or judgment. This practice can transform our relationships, making them deeper, more authentic, and more meaningful. Picture how different your interactions might be if you listened more and spoke less, if you gave others the gift of your full attention and presence. What might you learn from them? How might your relationships change if you practiced the humility and patience that silence teaches? In modern life, embracing silence as a path to self-mastery is both a challenge and a necessity. It requires us to step back from the noise and chaos of daily life, to resist the urge to constantly fill every moment with activity or distraction. It invites us to create moments of stillness where we can connect with our true selves, reflect on our values, and align our actions with our deepest intentions. It calls us to cultivate a quiet strength that is not easily shaken by external events or the opinions of others, a strength that comes from knowing oneself and remaining true to that understanding. So, how can you start incorporating more silence into your life? How can you use silence as a tool for self-mastery and personal growth? Perhaps it begins with a few minutes each day of quiet reflection, of sitting in stillness and simply observing your thoughts. Or maybe it's about finding moments throughout your day to pause, breathe, and listen to the world around you and within you. Remember that the power of silence is not in the absence of sound, but in the presence of awareness. It is through silence that we find our true selves, that we gain clarity and insight, and that we learn to master our own minds and lives. As you go about your day, consider the role silence plays in your life. Are you using it to its full potential? Are you allowing it to guide you toward greater self-understanding and mastery? The Stoics remind us that silence is a powerful ally on the path to wisdom and inner peace. So, embrace it, make it a part of your daily practice, and see what new insights and strengths emerge from the quiet. What could you discover about yourself if you allowed silence to speak? The answers, like the silence itself, are waiting for you to listen. 7. Cultivating patience through silence. In today's world where speed and instant gratification often dominate our lives, the art of patience seems almost forgotten. We live in a society that constantly urges us to act quickly, to seek immediate results, and to constantly stay ahead of the curve. But what if the real strength lies not in how fast we can move or how much we can achieve, but in our ability to be still, to wait, and to allow things to unfold in their own time? This is where the power of silence comes into play, a tool that, when used correctly, can help us cultivate patience, a virtue that is at the very heart of Stoic philosophy. As Epictetus, a renowned Stoic philosopher, once said, "No great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer you that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen." This profound insight invites us to reflect on our own approach to life. Are we rushing through each moment, desperate for quick results? Or are we allowing ourselves the patience to let things blossom and mature in their natural course? The practice of cultivating patience through silence starts with a fundamental shift in mindset. It requires us to move away from the constant need for action and immediate answers, and instead, embrace the quiet, unhurried rhythm of life. In silence, we learn to wait without frustration, to accept without resistance, and to trust that, in time, everything will fall into place. This patience is not passive. It is an active choice to engage with the present moment fully, without rushing ahead or dwelling on what has yet to come. It is about recognizing that every moment of silence is an opportunity to cultivate inner strength and resilience. Think about the last time you were caught in traffic, waiting impatiently for the cars to move. Did your frustration help the situation, or did it only add to your stress? What if, instead, You use that time to breathe, to reflect, and to practice patience. What might you have gained from that experience if you chose silence over frustration? Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, beautifully captured this idea in his Meditations when he wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." This statement encourages us to look inward, to examine how much of our impatience and frustration is self-created, stemming from our refusal to accept things as they are. By embracing silence, we give ourselves the space to step back, to observe our thoughts and feelings without getting caught up in them, and to choose a more patient, peaceful response. This is especially relevant in our fast-paced modern lives, where the pressures of work, family, and social obligations often leave us feeling stretched thin. How often do we find ourselves reacting impulsively to situations because we haven't taken a moment to pause and reflect? How much more effective might we be if we learned to cultivate patience through silence, to respond thoughtfully rather than react hastily? In practical terms, cultivating patience through silence means making a conscious effort to incorporate moments of stillness into our daily routines. It might be as simple as starting each day with a few minutes of quiet meditation, or taking a walk without your phone, allowing yourself to be fully present in the moment. It could mean practicing deep listening in conversations, not rushing to speak or to offer advice, but simply being there, fully attentive and receptive. By doing so, we not only cultivate patience within ourselves, but we also create a space for others to feel heard and understood, fostering deeper, more meaningful connections. The great Stoic Seneca once said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future." In silence, we learn to enjoy the present moment, to find contentment in the now, rather than constantly striving for what lies ahead. What changes could you see in your own life if you made space for more silence, more patience? Moreover, silence as a practice of patience teaches us to trust the natural flow of life. In a world obsessed with control and certainty, the ability to let go and trust can feel like a radical act. Yet this is precisely what the Stoics encourage us to do, to focus on what we can control, our own thoughts and actions, and to let go of what we cannot. By embracing silence, we practice releasing our need for control, allowing life to unfold at its own pace, trusting that everything happens for a reason, even if that reason is not immediately clear to us. This mindset is not about complacency. It is about recognizing the limits of our influence and finding peace within those limits. How often do we stress over things that are beyond our control? How might our experience of life change if we approached it with more trust and patience? In today's fast-moving world, cultivating patience through silence can also enhance our resilience. When we are silent, we have the chance to reconnect with our inner selves, to build a strong foundation that is not easily shaken by the ups and downs of life. We learn to be comfortable in the stillness, to draw strength from within, rather than relying on external circumstances for our sense of stability. This inner strength, forged in the quiet moments of reflection, becomes our anchor in the face of life's storms. As we navigate our daily lives, from dealing with work pressures to managing personal relationships, how much more grounded and composed might we be if we drew upon this inner reservoir of patience and calm? The Stoics remind us that the key to a resilient life is not in avoiding challenges, but in facing them with a composed and patient spirit. Could this practice of silence help you build more resilience in your life? Finally, patience cultivated through silence brings a deeper sense of peace and fulfillment. When we are no longer racing against time or constantly battling our circumstances, we find a deeper contentment in simply being. We begin to appreciate the small moments, the subtle beauty of everyday life, the richness of simply being present. This shift from a state of constant striving to one of peaceful presence is one of the most profound gifts that silence offers. It's about finding joy not in the loudness of achievement, but in the quiet moments of everyday existence. It's about realizing that life is not a race to be won, but a journey to be savored. each moment bringing its own unique lesson and opportunity for growth. How might your experience of life change if you approached it with this mindset of patient, silent presence? Cultivating patience through silence is not just a philosophical concept. It's a practical approach to living a more balanced, fulfilling life. It invites us to slow down, to listen more deeply to ourselves and others, and to trust the natural flow of life. It challenges us to let go of the need for immediate results and to embrace the process of growth and learning. So, how will you begin to incorporate more silence and patience into your life? What practices might you adopt to create more moments of stillness and reflection? As you ponder these questions, keep in mind the wisdom of the Stoics, who remind us that in silence, we find the strength to be patient, the clarity to see what truly matters, and the peace to let everything come to us naturally. What might you discover about yourself if you embrace the power of silence today? The journey, like all great things, begins with a single, patient step. If you've made it this far, you're embracing the power of silence and inner strength. Drop a comment saying, "I am embracing silence," to show your commitment to this path of growth and wisdom. Stay tuned, because this journey to self-mastery has only just begun. 8. The role of silence in strengthening relationships. Have you ever considered the role that silence plays in your relationships? In a world where words often dominate and conversations can feel like competitions to be heard, silence might seem like an unlikely tool for building stronger connections. Yet in the wisdom of Stoicism, silence is more than just the absence of speech. It is a powerful way to deepen our understanding of ourselves and others, a way to build trust, and a means to create space for genuine connection. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, reminds us in his Meditations, "It is in keeping silent and letting others speak that we grow in wisdom." This insight challenges us to rethink our approach to communication and consider how moments of quiet can be more impactful than the loudest words. How often do we truly listen, not just to respond, but to understand? How often do we allow silence to do its work in bringing us closer to those we care about? Take, for example, the story of James, a successful businessman who was always on the move, his mind constantly buzzing with ideas and strategies. He was known for his quick thinking and sharp tongue, always ready to provide solutions, always eager to speak his mind. But this approach often left little room for others, including his family, to express themselves. One day, after a heated argument with his teenage son, James realized that his constant talking and lack of listening were creating distance rather than closeness. He decided to try a different approach. The next time his son wanted to talk, James chose to remain silent. He listened intently without interrupting, without rushing to offer advice or solutions. To his surprise, his son opened up in a way he never had before, sharing his thoughts, fears, and dreams. In that moment of silence, a new bond was formed, one built on understanding and mutual respect. This experience taught James a powerful lesson, that sometimes the best way to connect with others is to simply be present and listen. What might happen in your own relationships if you allowed more space for silence? What could you learn about your loved ones if you listened more and spoke less? The role of silence in strengthening relationships is not just about refraining from speaking, but about being fully present with another person. It is about creating a safe space where others feel heard and valued. In silence, we give others the opportunity to express themselves fully, without fear of judgment or interruption. This kind of listening is an act of love and respect. It shows that we are willing to put aside our own thoughts and concerns to truly understand another person's perspective. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This wisdom is particularly relevant in our personal relationships, where the quality of our listening often determines the depth of our connection. How might your interactions with your partner, children, or friends change if you approached each conversation with a commitment to listen deeply, to be fully present, and to allow silence to play its part? In modern life, where technology often distracts us and divides our attention, practicing silence in relationships can be a challenge. But it is a challenge worth embracing. Think about how often we are physically present with someone but mentally elsewhere, distracted by our phones, our thoughts, or our worries. How often do we miss the nuances of a conversation because we are too busy thinking about what to say next or how to respond? By choosing to be silent and fully present, we offer the greatest gift we can give to someone: our undivided attention. We create a space where real communication can happen, where both parties feel respected and understood. How might your relationships improve if you made a conscious effort to be more present, to listen more deeply, and to speak less? Could silence be the key to unlocking deeper understanding and connection? Silence also allows us to develop empathy, a crucial component of any strong relationship. When we are silent, we are better able to put ourselves in the shoes of the other person, to understand their emotions and experiences from their perspective. This empathy builds trust and deepens our bonds with others. It shows that we are not just hearing words, but we are truly listening and caring about what is being shared. In a world that often prioritizes speaking over listening, cultivating empathy through silence is a radical but deeply effective practice. It is a reminder that sometimes the most powerful form of communication is not speaking, but listening. How often do you find yourself truly empathizing with others in your life? What steps can you take to cultivate more empathy in your relationships? Moreover, silence gives us time to reflect before we respond. Too often, in the heat of the moment, we say things we don't mean or react in ways we later regret. Silence provides a buffer, a moment to breathe and consider our words carefully. It allows us to choose our responses with intention, rather than reacting impulsively. This reflective silence can prevent misunderstandings and conflicts, leading to more thoughtful and constructive communication. As the Stoics teach, control your emotions, or they will control you. Silence helps us practice this control, giving us the space to process our emotions before they spill out in harmful ways. How might your conflicts with others change if you took a moment of silence before responding? Could this practice lead to more peaceful and productive conversations? In professional settings too, silence can be a powerful tool for building stronger, more collaborative relationships. In meetings or negotiations, the ability to listen more and speak less can lead to better outcomes.